In this chapter, we arrive at a crucial turning point, the moment when the knowledge, experiences, and lessons we have gathered begin to crystallize into true self-reliance. Life is unpredictable, and the truth is, no one else will consistently hold your hand through every challenge, every setback, or every crossroads. Chapter 1. In the journey of life. The most critical relationship you will ever cultivate is the one you have with yourself, because everything else flows from it. From the earliest moments of our existence, society conditions us to seek guidance, validation, and approval from others, teaching us to believe that external sources hold the keys to our success, happiness, and fulfillment. We are encouraged to look outward for direction, to wait for opportunities to arrive, to rely on luck or circumstance to determine our outcomes, and to measure our worth through the lens of other people's opinions. While guidance and mentorship can certainly play a role in shaping our paths, the fundamental truth is that true growth, empowerment, and achievement begin when we recognize that the ultimate source of strength lies within us. Learning to depend on yourself is not about isolation, arrogance, or rejecting support. It is about cultivating the confidence, awareness, and competence to navigate your life with autonomy, clarity, and courage. It begins with a simple but profound shift in mindset, the realization that your life is your responsibility, that your choices and actions have consequences, and that your inner resources, the combination of your intellect, intuition, resilience, and creativity, are your most reliable tools. This journey toward self-dependence requires patience, practice, and intentionality, because it asks us to confront deeply ingrained patterns of reliance on external validation and to gradually build the habit of turning inward for guidance and affirmation. It is about developing a personal compass, a strong internal foundation that allows you to act decisively, even in uncertainty, and to trust your judgment when faced with challenges, opportunities, or unfamiliar situations. One of the first from someone else is learning to listen to yourself with honesty and compassion, to observe your thoughts, emotions, and instincts without judgment, and to cultivate the capacity to make decisions based on your values and goals rather than the pressures, expectations, or criticisms of others. This practice strengthens your sense of agency and builds the confidence that you can handle life's inevitable challenges, because you are no longer entirely dependent on external solutions or validation to navigate difficulties. In addition, self-dependence fosters emotional resilience, equipping you to face disappointment, criticism, and setbacks without losing your sense of self-worth or your ability to act. Life will present circumstances that are beyond your control, and people may not always provide the support or guidance you hope for. But when you cultivate the habit of relying on your own judgment, skills, and inner resources, you develop a sense of stability and security that cannot be shaken by external forces. This chapter emphasizes that self-reliance is not a destination but a lifelong practice, a continuous commitment to strengthening your inner foundation, expanding your knowledge and skills, and building trust in your own abilities. It is about taking full responsibility for your actions, decisions, and the trajectory of your life while maintaining a willingness to learn, adapt, and grow. When you depend on yourself, every decision you make becomes an opportunity to exercise judgment, demonstrate accountability, and reinforce the belief that you are capable of shaping your reality. This does not mean that mistakes will disappear. Rather, it means that errors are transformed into valuable lessons, moments of reflection, and catalysts for growth. You begin to see failures not as permanent setbacks, but as feedback guiding you toward improvement and greater self-mastery. Self-dependence also empowers you to set boundaries, prioritize your needs and goals, and act in alignment with your values without being swayed by fear, manipulation, or external expectations. It allows you to cultivate independence while maintaining meaningful relationships, to seek advice without surrendering control, and to embrace collaboration without losing your autonomy. Moreover, relying on yourself encourages proactive engagement with life rather than passive reaction, inspiring you to take initiative, solve problems creatively, and pursue aspirations with determination and clarity. By learning to trust your instincts, cultivate your knowledge, and act decisively, you gradually develop a sense of freedom and agency that enriches every area of your life, from personal relationships and career choices to health, financial management, and emotional well-being. Over time, this inner confidence transforms your approach to challenges, making you more resilient, adaptable, and courageous, because you know that regardless of circumstances, you possess the capability to navigate uncertainty and overcome obstacles. It is the internal strength to persevere when the path is difficult, to act with integrity when no one is watching, and to make decisions that reflect your authentic self rather than conforming to external pressures. In essence, depending on yourself is about creating a life that is self-directed, purposeful, and grounded in personal responsibility, a life where you are the primary architect of your success and fulfillment. This chapter invites you to begin that journey by embracing the principle that you are your most reliable source of guidance, support, and strength. It challenges you to take ownership of your life, to nurture your inner voice, and to cultivate the habits and mindset that will allow you to face the world with confidence, clarity, and courage. Every step toward self-reliance is a step toward empowerment, freedom, and the realization that your potential is limited only by the belief in your own capability. By learning to depend on yourself, you open the door to a life in which you are not defined or constrained by the expectations of others, but guided and inspired by your own vision, values, and unwavering trust in your inner resources. Chapter 2. To depend on yourself. The first and most essential step is embracing accountability, a principle that transforms the way you approach life and empowers you to take control of your destiny. Accountability is the recognition that your choices, actions, and responses determine the outcomes you experience, and it is the conscious decision to take full responsibility for your life, rather than attributing your successes or failures to external forces, circumstances, or the actions of others. In a world that constantly encourages blame shifting, waiting for opportunities, and relying on luck or the guidance of others, cultivating accountability is a revolutionary act of self-reliance. It begins with the understanding that, while you cannot always control what happens to you, you can always control how you respond, how you learn from experiences, and how you adjust your behavior to create better results in the future. This chapter is about recognizing that the power to shape your life lies primarily in your own hands, and that the sooner you accept this responsibility, the sooner you can move from a life of passivity to one of active participation, decision-making, and purposeful action. Accountability requires self-awareness, a deep understanding of your strengths, weaknesses, habits, and patterns of behavior, and the willingness to evaluate your actions honestly, without excuses or rationalizations. It is the courage to confront your mistakes, acknowledge the consequences of your decisions, and take deliberate steps to correct course when necessary. By embracing accountability, you shift your perspective from seeing yourself as a passive recipient of life's events to recognizing that you are an active agent capable of creating meaningful change. This practice fosters a mindset in which challenges and setbacks are no longer reasons for frustration or resentment, but opportunities for growth, learning, and refinement of skills. When you accept that every outcome, positive or negative, is tied in part to your own decisions, you empower yourself to take control of your circumstances, build confidence in your abilities, and develop resilience that cannot be easily shaken by the opinions or interference of others. Accountability also requires discipline, the commitment to follow through on your promises to yourself, to set clear goals, and to hold yourself responsible for achieving them. It is about developing a structured approach to life in which planning, action, reflection, and adjustment are ongoing processes that reinforce your independence and strengthen your capacity to rely on your own judgment. By consistently applying accountability, you begin to see patterns in your behavior, recognize what works and what does not, and gain the insight necessary to make more informed, intentional decisions. This process reduces dependence on others for guidance or validation because you learn to trust your own judgment, evaluate your own performance, and correct your own course without waiting for external approval. Furthermore, accountability cultivates integrity, aligning your actions with your values and principles so that you become someone whose word, commitments, and decisions carry weight not only for yourself but also in the eyes of others. It is a form of personal empowerment that enhances every area of life, from career and finances to relationships and personal growth, because when you take ownership of your actions, you create a foundation of trust, competence, and reliability that reinforces your self-confidence. In addition, embracing accountability strengthens your problem-solving abilities and decision-making skills because it forces you to confront challenges directly, analyze causes, and identify solutions rather than relying on others to fix or rescue you. It encourages proactive behavior, motivating you to anticipate obstacles, prepare for difficulties, and take initiative in shaping outcomes rather than waiting for circumstances to dictate your life. Accountability also fosters emotional resilience by teaching you to process setbacks constructively, view criticism objectively, and use failure as a guide for improvement rather than a reason for self-doubt or blame. This creates a sense of autonomy as you realize that external circumstances and opinions no longer control your emotional state or your capacity to act effectively. In practice, developing accountability requires consistent self-reflection, honest evaluation of your actions, and a commitment to learning from both success and failure. It involves setting clear, measurable goals, tracking progress, and being willing to adjust strategies when results do not align with intentions. This disciplined approach instills a sense of ownership over your life that strengthens self-dependence and reduces reliance on others to dictate or influence your direction. By consistently practicing accountability, you gradually cultivate a mindset in which challenges are embraced as opportunities to exercise judgment and initiative, where failures are reframed as lessons, and where personal responsibility becomes the cornerstone of your identity. In essence, depending on yourself is inextricably linked to your willingness to accept accountability, because it is through responsibility for your own life that you gain the power, confidence, and independence necessary to navigate life's uncertainties. By internalizing this principle, you empower yourself to make informed decisions, take purposeful action, and persist with determination, creating a life defined not by external circumstance, but by your own initiative, resilience, and unwavering commitment to personal growth and self-reliance, ultimately transforming accountability from a mere concept into a daily practice that propels you toward the freedom, mastery, and fulfillment that come from learning to depend on yourself. KSHR3 Self-reliance demands courage, a quality that is often misunderstood as the absence of fear, when in truth, courage is the conscious choice to act in spite of fear, uncertainty, and discomfort, and it is one of the most essential components of learning to depend on yourself. Life is full of moments that challenge your confidence, push you beyond your comfort zone, and force you to confront situations where the outcome is unpredictable and the stakes are high. In these moments, courage becomes the engine that drives self-reliance, allowing you to take decisive action rather than remaining paralyzed by hesitation, doubt, or the opinions of others. Developing courage begins with acknowledging fear, recognizing its presence, and understanding that it is a natural, universal response to uncertainty or risk, rather than a sign of weakness or inadequacy. When you embrace this understanding, you shift from avoiding fear to using it as a signal that you are on the edge of growth, learning, or achievement. and you begin to see challenges as opportunities to strengthen your inner resilience. Courage is cultivated through repeated practice, through small, deliberate steps in which you choose to act despite discomfort, and through consistent exposure to situations that test your confidence and resolve. Each time you confront fear, take responsibility for difficult decisions, or pursue a goal that feels uncertain, you reinforce your capacity to trust yourself and to navigate life independently. Self-reliance without courage is incomplete, because relying on yourself requires more than knowledge, skill, or intention. It requires the willingness to step into situations where outcomes are unknown and to persist even when the path is unclear or fraught with difficulty. This chapter emphasizes that courage is not a singular act but a continuous practice, a mindset, and a muscle that strengthens each time it is exercised. It involves making choices that reflect your values, acting on your convictions, and taking risks that align with your goals and vision, even when comfort, security, or external approval would encourage avoidance or inaction. The process of cultivating courage also involves learning to manage failure and disappointment, understanding that mistakes are not indications of inadequacy, but rather opportunities to learn, adapt, and improve. Each courageous action, no matter how small, builds confidence, reinforces independence, and deepens your trust in your own judgment, creating a foundation upon which self-reliance can flourish. Courage is also deeply tied to authenticity, as it requires you to act in alignment with your principles, speak your truth, and pursue your path, even when it deviates from societal expectations or the comfort of conformity. This alignment fosters integrity, strengthens self-respect, and nurtures a sense of inner security that is independent of external validation or approval. Moreover, courage enables you to face difficult conversations, set boundaries, and make necessary or uncomfortable decisions that support your personal growth and long-term goals. Without it, dependence on others becomes easier, avoidance of responsibility is tempting, and the fear of failure can dominate your choices, preventing the development of the independence and self-trust that are central to a life of self-reliance. Developing courage also means learning to tolerate uncertainty, to move forward even when clarity is incomplete, and to trust your capacity to adapt and respond to challenges as they arise. This aspect of courage strengthens decision-making, problem-solving, and resilience, as it encourages proactive engagement with life rather than passive avoidance or reliance on others for direction. In essence, courage transforms fear into fuel for action, hesitation into decisive movement, and risk into opportunity for growth, all of which are vital to learning to depend on yourself. Each act of courage reinforces the belief that you are capable of navigating life's uncertainties, overcoming obstacles, and achieving meaningful goals, creating a compounding effect that builds confidence, autonomy, and personal power. Courage also empowers you to pursue personal development, explore new opportunities, and step into leadership roles in your own life, because you recognize that waiting for certainty or permission from others is a path to stagnation, while acting boldly in alignment with your values propels you toward growth and fulfillment. This chapter invites you to cultivate courage deliberately, consistently, and intentionally, integrating it into every decision, action, and an interaction until it becomes a natural part of your mindset and approach to life. By embracing courage as a daily practice, you reinforce your capacity to trust yourself, make independent choices, and face life's challenges with confidence and resilience, ultimately transforming fear from a barrier into a catalyst for empowerment. In learning to depend on yourself, courage is the bridge between knowledge and action, between intention and achievement, and between potential and reality, allowing you to step boldly into your own life, confident in your ability to navigate uncertainty, persevere through difficulty, and create a future defined by your own vision, choices, and unwavering self-trust. CFTR4 reflection is one of the most powerful tools for developing self-reliance, because it allows you to understand your actions, evaluate your decisions, and grow from every experience in a conscious and deliberate way, transforming ordinary experiences into opportunities for learning and self-improvement. Depending on yourself is not just about making decisions and taking action. It is also about pausing to examine the choices you make and the outcomes you produce, and the lessons you can extract from both success and failure. Reflection is the bridge between experience and wisdom, allowing you to gain insight into your strengths, identify areas for growth, and adjust your approach to life in alignment with your goals and values. It requires a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths, to acknowledge mistakes without judgment, and to seek understanding rather than placing blame on others or external circumstances. By committing to regular reflection, you create the space to analyze your thought patterns, your reactions, and the reasons behind your decisions, which ultimately strengthens your ability to trust yourself and make more informed choices in the future. This chapter emphasizes that self-reflection is not a passive activity, but an active, intentional practice that integrates both introspection and assessment, encouraging you to assess why you acted in a certain way, what motivated your decisions, what consequences resulted from your actions, and how you can improve moving forward. Through this process, you develop a deeper awareness of your personal values, priorities, and goals, which acts as a compass guiding your future actions and decisions with clarity and purpose. Reflection also enhances accountability because it forces you to take ownership of your actions, acknowledge your role in outcomes, and recognize that the power to change, improve, and grow resides within you rather than in external forces. By examining past experiences thoughtfully, you are better equipped to avoid repeating mistakes, to identify patterns of behavior that may hinder your progress, and to reinforce habits and strategies that lead to success. Self-reflection strengthens emotional intelligence by helping you understand the underlying causes of your reactions, the triggers that influence your behavior, and the impact your actions have on yourself and others, allowing you to respond rather than react, and to engage with life from a place of intentionality and awareness. It also nurtures resilience because you learn to view challenges, failures, and setbacks as opportunities for growth rather than insurmountable obstacles, enabling you to approach future difficulties with confidence, composure, and the knowledge that every experience contributes to your development. Moreover, reflection encourages continuous learning, a mindset that fuels self-reliance by equipping you with the ability to adapt, innovate, and improve over time. By analyzing your decisions and their results, you gain insights into problem-solving, critical thinking, and strategic planning, all of which enhance your capacity to navigate life independently. Reflection also plays a key role in building confidence and self-trust, because as you examine your actions and recognize your capacity to handle challenges, make corrections, and achieve goals, you reinforce the belief that you are capable, competent, and reliable in your own right. This practice allows you to internalize lessons rather than relying on external advice or guidance, fostering a mindset in which you are the primary source of direction and wisdom in your own life. Additionally, reflection deepens self-awareness, helping you identify your true passions, motivations, and values, which in turn allows you to align your actions with your authentic self rather than being swayed by societal pressures, external expectations, or the opinions of others. By consistently practicing reflection, you develop clarity about who you are, what you want, and how to act effectively to achieve your objectives, reinforcing both independence and purposeful action. This chapter also highlights the importance of integrating reflection into your daily routine, whether through journaling, meditation, quiet contemplation, or structured self-assessment, creating a habitual practice that continually enhances your self-understanding and decision-making abilities. The insights gained from reflection empower you to approach life strategically, to anticipate challenges, and to make adjustments proactively rather than reactively, reinforcing the skills necessary for self-reliance. In essence, reflection transforms ordinary experiences into profound lessons, mistakes into opportunities, and successes into strategies that can be replicated and refined. By developing a consistent practice of self-reflection, you strengthen your capacity to depend on yourself, trust your judgment, and navigate life with confidence, clarity, and intentionality. It is through this disciplined examination of your actions, thoughts, and results that you cultivate the wisdom, resilience, and insight necessary to become truly independent, capable, and self-sufficient, laying the foundation for a life in which your choices, actions, and decisions are guided by your own understanding, experience, and values rather than being dictated by others or external circumstances, ultimately enabling you to achieve a level of personal mastery, confidence, and fulfillment that is the hallmark of genuine self-reliance. Chapter 5. Resilience is the cornerstone of self-reliance, a quality that enables you to face life's inevitable challenges with strength, determination, and the unwavering belief that you can overcome adversity through your own efforts. And it is an essential element in learning to depend on yourself. Life is unpredictable, filled with obstacles, setbacks, disappointments, and moments that test your patience, resolve, and confidence. And it is through resilience that you transform these challenges into opportunities for growth and self-improvement rather than letting them define or defeat you. Developing resilience begins with the understanding that difficulties are not signs of personal inadequacy or failure, but natural and necessary aspects of life that provide a platform for learning, adaptation, and personal evolution. When you cultivate resilience, you strengthen your capacity to endure hardship without losing your sense of self, to recover from setbacks without being discouraged, and to maintain focus and determination even when the path ahead is unclear or difficult. This chapter emphasizes not simply enduring suffering or passively waiting for circumstances to improve. It is an active, intentional process of facing challenges head-on, analyzing what can be learned, and taking deliberate steps to move forward with increased wisdom and strength. Resilient individuals are those who acknowledge their emotions, confront fears, and respond constructively to adversity rather than allowing frustration, anger, or despair to dictate their actions or mindset. By embracing resilience, you develop the ability to adapt to changing circumstances, to see obstacles as opportunities rather than threats, and to maintain a forward-moving momentum even when progress seems slow or uncertain. Resilience also involves developing mental toughness, which allows you to remain focused, disciplined, and composed in the face of stress, criticism, and unexpected difficulties, reinforcing your capacity to rely on yourself rather than seeking constant reassurance or support from others. In cultivating resilience, you learn to transform failures into feedback, using mistakes and setbacks as valuable lessons that inform future actions and decisions, and enabling you to approach similar situations with greater insight, confidence, and effectiveness. This chapter underscores that self-reliance and resilience are deeply interconnected, because the ability to depend on yourself requires the strength to confront challenges independently, to trust your judgment when solutions are not immediately apparent, and to persist despite obstacles, setbacks, or moments of doubt. Resilience also nurtures emotional stability, teaching you to manage disappointment, regulate your responses, and maintain clarity and composure under pressure, which are essential qualities for making informed, confident, and self-directed decisions. It encourages a mindset of proactive problem-solving, where challenges are approached strategically rather than avoided or ignored, fostering a sense of agency and empowerment that is central to self-reliance. Developing resilience requires consistent practice and conscious effort, beginning with small challenges and progressively building your capacity to handle increasingly complex or difficult situations. It involves cultivating patience, persistence, and the ability to tolerate discomfort and uncertainty without losing focus or determination. By learning to view adversity as a teacher rather than an adversary, you cultivate the mindset necessary to respond to life with courage, resourcefulness, and adaptability. Resilience also strengthens your confidence, as repeated experiences of overcoming obstacles reinforce the belief in your own abilities, skills, and judgment, deepening your trust in yourself as the primary source of guidance and problem-solving in your life. Furthermore, resilience fosters independence because it reduces reliance on others to rescue, guide, or validate you, instilling the understanding that your inner resources are sufficient to navigate challenges and achieve meaningful outcomes. This chapter highlights the importance of integrating resilience into your daily practices, whether through goal setting, reflecting on past challenges, developing coping strategies, or deliberately exposing yourself to controlled difficulties that stretch your abilities and expand your comfort zone. Each act of resilience, no matter how small, compounds over time, strengthening your capacity to handle greater challenges, make sound decisions under pressure, and maintain your focus on long-term goals despite short-term obstacles. Resilience also empowers you to embrace change, take calculated risks, and pursue opportunities with confidence, knowing that even in the face of setbacks, you have the inner strength, resourcefulness, and determination to recover and continue moving forward. In essence, resilience transforms life's inevitable difficulties into opportunities for personal growth, skill development, and enhanced self-trust, reinforcing the foundation of independence and self-reliance. By cultivating resilience, you equip yourself with the emotional, mental, and strategic tools necessary to face life with confidence, adaptability, and a sense of empowerment, creating a life where challenges become catalysts for growth rather than barriers to success. Depending on yourself requires resilience because it ensures that you remain steadfast, capable, and confident in your ability to navigate adversity, learn from experience, and achieve your goals through your own effort, judgment, and perseverance. Therefore, is not just a trait, but a lifelong practice, a mindset, and a discipline that allows you to transform obstacles into opportunities, uncertainty into clarity, and adversity into the strength and insight necessary to live a self-directed, empowered, and fulfilled life. Such DR6 decision-making is at the very heart of self-reliance, a critical skill that determines the course of your life and the extent to which you can truly depend on yourself, because every choice you make, whether large or small, shapes your reality, influences your future, and reflects your capacity to take ownership of your actions and their consequences. Learning to rely on yourself means cultivating the ability to make informed, deliberate, and confident decisions without being overly dependent on the opinions, approval, or guidance of others, while still remaining open to valuable insights and perspectives when they serve your growth. This chapter emphasizes that decision-making is not simply about choosing between options. It is a reflection of your values, priorities, knowledge, and self-trust, and it requires careful thought, clarity, and courage. Effective decision-making begins with understanding yourself, your goals, your strengths, your limitations, and your long-term vision. Because decisions that align with your authentic self are more likely to produce meaningful outcomes and reinforce your independence. To depend on yourself, you must develop the ability to gather relevant information, weigh options, anticipate potential consequences, and act with confidence even when certainty is incomplete or outcomes are uncertain. This requires the cultivation of critical thinking, logical reasoning, and problem-solving skills, all of which strengthen your capacity to navigate complexity and make choices that reflect your autonomy. Decision-making also demands the courage to take risks, embrace uncertainty, and accept responsibility for both successes and failures, because reliance on oneself is incomplete without the willingness to act decisively and stand by the outcomes of your choices. This chapter highlights that mistakes are an inevitable part of the process and should not be feared. Rather, they are opportunities for learning, growth, and the refinement of your judgment, reinforcing your ability to make even better decisions in the future. By embracing mistakes as feedback rather than failure, you reduce the fear that often paralyzes independent action, and you cultivate resilience, adaptability, and confidence in your capacity to navigate life's uncertainties. Moreover, decision-making strengthens self-trust, because each time you make a choice and act upon it thoughtfully, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of guiding your own life and that your judgment is reliable, even in challenging situations. This practice encourages proactive engagement with life rather than passive reaction, shifting your mindset from one of dependency on external guidance to one of empowered autonomy. Decision-making also involves prioritization, the ability to discern what matters most in any given situation and to allocate your time, energy, and resources accordingly, ensuring that your choices consistently support your goals and values. This skill is vital for self-reliance because it allows you to act with focus and intentionality rather than being swayed by distractions, opinions, or immediate gratification. Effective decision-making further requires emotional regulation, the capacity to manage fear, anxiety, and doubt, so that choices are made with clarity and reason rather than impulsively or reactively. It also involves patience and reflection, knowing when to pause, gather additional information, or consult your intuition before taking action, while avoiding unnecessary delay that can hinder progress or opportunities. By developing a disciplined approach to decision-making, you strengthen your independence, build confidence, and enhance your ability to respond to challenges and opportunities strategically and effectively. This chapter underscores that decision-making is not a one-time skill but a lifelong practice, one that evolves as you gain experience, knowledge, and insight, and one that continually reinforces your capacity to trust yourself and act with integrity and purpose. Furthermore, mastering the art of decision-making empowers you to take control of your life, pursue your goals with clarity and focus, and navigate uncertainty with composure, knowing that you have the ability to choose wisely and act decisively. Depending on yourself requires that you develop the courage, discipline, and insight to make consistent, well-informed decisions, to accept the outcomes of your actions, and to adjust course when necessary, all while maintaining confidence in your judgment and abilities. In essence, decision-making is the bridge between intention and action, between knowledge and results, and between aspiration and achievement, and it is a defining characteristic of those who are truly self-reliant. By committing to thoughtful, intentional, and courageous decision-making, you lay the foundation for a life of independence, empowerment, and personal mastery, where your choices reflect your values, your goals, and your unwavering ability to depend on yourself in every circumstance, creating a trajectory of growth, fulfillment, and self-determined success that is uniquely your own. Chapter 7 Emotional intelligence is a cornerstone of self-reliance, a skill that allows you to understand, manage, and harness your emotions in ways that enhance your ability to depend on yourself, navigate challenges, and make sound decisions with clarity and confidence. And it plays a vital role in every aspect of personal growth, relationships, and success. Learning to depend on yourself is not solely about developing skills, resilience, or knowledge. It is equally about cultivating awareness of your internal emotional landscape and the impact your emotions have on your thoughts, behaviors, and interactions. Emotional intelligence begins with self-awareness, the capacity to recognize and understand your own feelings, triggers, and patterns of behavior, which enables you to act deliberately rather than react impulsively to situations. By becoming attuned to your emotions, you gain insight into the motivations behind your choices, the sources of your stress or anxiety, and the aspects of your character that require refinement or growth. This awareness fosters accountability because it allows you to acknowledge the role your emotions play in shaping outcomes, ensuring that you take responsibility for both your actions and your reactions, rather than attributing your behavior solely to external circumstances or the actions of others. Self-reliance is strengthened when you cultivate emotional regulation, the ability to manage intense emotions, remain composed under pressure, and respond to challenges with balance and reason. This skill prevents impulsive or counterproductive reactions and empowers you to approach problems strategically, to communicate effectively, and to maintain focus on your goals even in the face of adversity. Emotional intelligence also involves empathy, the capacity to understand and respect the emotions of others without losing your own sense of autonomy or being overly influenced by external pressures. When you develop empathy alongside self-awareness, you are able to navigate social interactions and relationships more effectively, creating a balance between collaboration and independence, support and self-direction. This balance is essential for self-reliance because it allows you to engage meaningfully with others without becoming dependent on their validation, approval, or guidance for your own sense of self-worth or decision-making. Additionally, emotional intelligence enhances problem-solving and decision-making abilities by integrating rational thinking with an understanding of emotional dynamics, both internal and external, allowing you to anticipate challenges, assess potential responses, and act with confidence and intentionality. Developing emotional intelligence also fosters resilience as you learn to process setbacks, disappointment, and criticism constructively, viewing these experiences as opportunities for growth rather than threats to your competence or self-esteem. This practice cultivates mental fortitude, empowering you to remain steady, focused, and adaptive in the face of uncertainty, stress, or unexpected obstacles, which are inevitable in life and in the pursuit of independence. Furthermore, emotional intelligence nurtures self-confidence, because as you become adept at understanding and managing your emotions, you build trust in your ability to respond appropriately to complex or challenging situations, reinforcing your capacity to rely on yourself as the primary source of guidance and problem solving. The development of emotional intelligence requires deliberate practice, reflection, and ongoing commitment, involving strategies such as mindfulness, journaling, meditation, and thoughtful analysis of past experiences to identify patterns, triggers, and areas for improvement. By integrating these practices into your daily life, you continuously strengthen your emotional awareness, regulation, and adaptability, enhancing your independence and your ability to navigate life with clarity, purpose, and composure. This chapter emphasizes that emotional intelligence is not a static trait but a dynamic, evolving skill set that grows with experience, self-reflection, and intentional practice, enabling you to handle increasingly complex challenges, maintain control over your reactions, and cultivate deeper self-trust. By mastering emotional intelligence, you gain the tools to balance reason and emotion, confidence and humility, independence and collaboration, ultimately reinforcing the foundation of self-reliance that empowers you to live authentically and make decisions aligned with your values and long-term goals. Emotional intelligence allows you to remain grounded, focused, and proactive, even in the midst of uncertainty or emotional turbulence, turning potential obstacles into opportunities for learning, growth, and self-mastery. In essence, depending on yourself is inseparable from the ability to understand and manage your emotions, because it ensures that you respond to life deliberately rather than reactively, make decisions with clarity and confidence, and engage with the world in a way that strengthens both your independence and your ability to thrive. By cultivating emotional intelligence, you create an inner environment of stability, insight, and self-trust, reinforcing the skills, mindset, and resilience necessary to navigate life successfully, face challenges with composure, and act decisively in alignment with your values, ultimately establishing a life defined by autonomy, empowerment, and unwavering self-reliance. Chapter 8. Financial independence is a critical dimension of self-reliance, a practical and empowering aspect of life that allows you to depend on yourself rather than relying on others for security, opportunities, or stability, and it plays an essential role in creating the freedom and autonomy necessary to live life on your own terms. Learning to depend on yourself is not only about cultivating emotional strength, resilience, and decision-making skills, it is also about taking responsibility for your financial well-being, understanding how to manage resources effectively, and developing the capacity to provide for your needs and pursue your goals independently. Financial independence begins with awareness, the recognition that money is a tool that enables choice, security, and opportunity, and that managing it wisely is an essential component of living autonomously. This chapter emphasizes that self-reliance requires a disciplined approach to earning, saving, budgeting, and investing, because without control over your finances, you remain vulnerable to the influence, demands, or limitations imposed by others. The journey toward financial independence begins with understanding your income, expenses, and priorities, and creating a system that allows you to live within your means while strategically allocating resources toward growth, security, and long-term objectives. This involves developing habits such as careful budgeting, tracking spending, planning for emergencies, and avoiding unnecessary debt, all of which strengthen your ability to navigate life confidently without depending on external financial support. Financial literacy is a cornerstone of this process, providing the knowledge and skills to make informed decisions about saving, investing, managing risk, and planning for the future, which enhances both your confidence and your independence. Beyond the technical aspects, financial independence fosters a mindset of responsibility, foresight, and accountability as you learn to align your financial decisions with your values, goals, and long-term vision, rather than succumbing to impulsive behavior, societal pressures, or short-term gratification. By taking control of your finances, you cultivate freedom, the freedom to make choices that reflect your priorities, the freedom to pursue opportunities without constraint, and the freedom to create a life that aligns with your authentic self rather than being dictated by financial dependence on others. This chapter highlights that financial self-reliance is closely tied to personal empowerment, because when you have the ability to manage resources effectively, you reduce stress, gain confidence, and enhance your capacity to act independently, think strategically, and take calculated risks that support growth and fulfillment. It also reinforces resilience, as financial preparation, planning, and discipline allow you to weather unexpected challenges, adapt to changing circumstances, and maintain stability even in uncertain times, further strengthening your ability to rely on yourself. Cultivating financial independence involves a combination of planning, education, and consistent action, such as setting clear goals for saving, investing in your skills or business, building multiple streams of income, and creating a sustainable financial strategy that aligns with your long-term vision. It requires patience and discipline, as wealth and stability are rarely achieved overnight, but the long-term benefits of self-sufficiency, security, and freedom far outweigh the temporary sacrifices required to build them. Furthermore, financial independence empowers you to make choices in other areas of life, career, education, relationships, and personal development based on desire and strategy rather than necessity or obligation, reinforcing the holistic nature of self-reliance. It allows you to pursue passions, take calculated risks, and invest in opportunities that align with your values and aspirations without being hindered by financial dependence on others. This chapter underscores that financial independence is not merely an external condition, but a mindset and a practice, one that integrates awareness, discipline, responsibility, and strategic planning into your daily life. creating a foundation of autonomy and self-reliance that permeates every aspect of your existence. By mastering your finances, you cultivate confidence, foresight, and freedom, ensuring that you are equipped to meet your needs, respond to challenges, and seize opportunities independently. Ultimately, depending on yourself financially is an essential component of self-reliance because it transforms uncertainty into security, vulnerability into empowerment, and dependence into autonomy. It allows you to live life intentionally, make decisions aligned with your values, and pursue your goals with clarity, confidence, and self-trust, creating a life defined by independence, resilience, and the ability to navigate the world on your own terms. Financial independence, when coupled with emotional, mental, and practical self-reliance, becomes a powerful enabler, ensuring that you have the freedom, resources, and autonomy to lead a life of purpose, empowerment, and self-directed success, fully capable of relying on yourself in every circumstance and confidently shaping your own future. CFTR9 Time management is an essential aspect of self-reliance, a skill that allows you to control your life, prioritize your goals, and act deliberately, select activity, and achieve meaningful results. And it is a vital component in learning to depend on yourself. Depending on yourself requires more than resilience, courage, and financial independence. It demands mastery over one of the most limited and valuable resources available: time. How you choose to allocate your hours, minutes, and even seconds directly impacts your ability to accomplish goals, maintain focus, and take full responsibility for your life. And it is through intentional management of time that independence, productivity, and personal growth are cultivated. Time management begins with awareness, the recognition that every moment is an opportunity, and that wasting time or failing to prioritize effectively undermines self-reliance. By placing your success and progress in the hands of circumstance rather than your own deliberate action. This chapter emphasizes that effective time management requires the ability to set clear priorities, establish realistic goals, and allocate resources efficiently to ensure that your energy and focus are directed toward activities that align with your values, aspirations, and long-term vision. It involves planning, organization, and strategic decision-making, ensuring that your schedule reflects your objectives rather than reacting to distractions, obligations, or the expectations of others. Self-reliance is strengthened when you recognize that time is a finite resource and that responsible stewardship of your hours allows you to act independently, reduce dependency on others, and cultivate a life of intentionality and purpose. Techniques such as goal setting, creating structured routines, breaking tasks into manageable steps, and scheduling dedicated time for critical activities reinforce discipline, focus, and accountability, which are all essential traits of self-reliant individuals. Time management also includes the capacity to prioritize effectively, discerning between urgent and important tasks, avoiding unnecessary activities, and focusing on actions that produce meaningful results and support long-term growth. By mastering this skill, you gain control over your day, reduce stress, increase efficiency, and create a framework within which you can pursue your goals with clarity and determination. Furthermore, effective time management cultivates self-discipline, an essential quality for depending on yourself, as it requires consistency, commitment, and the ability to delay gratification in favor of long-term achievement rather than succumbing to distractions, procrastination, or immediate impulses. It also fosters adaptability because planning and organization allow you to adjust schedules, manage unexpected challenges, and reallocate your time without losing sight of priorities or compromising progress toward your goals. Time management reinforces personal accountability by ensuring that you are responsible for the outcomes of your choices, actions, and the use of your time, rather than relying on others to manage deadlines, opportunities, or expectations. In addition, it enhances decision-making, because the disciplined allocation of time encourages thoughtful consideration of tasks, goals, and consequences, leading to more strategic and effective actions that are consistent with your values and objectives. Developing strong time management skills also improves work-life balance, reduces stress, and allows for the integration of personal development, reflection, and self-care into your daily routine, all of which contribute to a sustainable, self-directed, and empowered life. This chapter underscores that time management is not simply about productivity or efficiency. It is about creating freedom, structure, and intentionality, enabling you to navigate life independently and pursue your ambitions without being constrained by poor planning, wasted hours, or reactive habits. By taking control of your time, you strengthen your autonomy, reinforce your ability to depend on yourself, and cultivate the mindset necessary to act with focus, discipline, and confidence in all areas of life. It transforms passive existence into deliberate action, turning scattered effort into meaningful progress, and ensuring that each day contributes toward your personal goals, growth, and fulfillment. In essence, managing time effectively is a foundational pillar of self-reliance, because it ensures that you have the structure, clarity, and control necessary to make independent decisions, execute plans efficiently, and maintain momentum toward your desired outcomes. By mastering this skill, you create a life in which your actions, priorities, and achievements are guided by your own intentional choices rather than external pressures, distractions, or circumstances, solidifying your ability to depend on yourself and shaping a future that reflects your values, vision, and unwavering commitment to personal empowerment. Kiveta 10. Adaptability is a fundamental pillar of self-reliance, a skill that empowers you to navigate life's inevitable changes, uncertainties, and unexpected challenges with confidence, resilience, and resourcefulness, and it is essential for learning to depend on yourself in a world that is constantly evolving. Self-reliance is not merely about possessing skills, knowledge, or courage. It is also about the ability to respond effectively to circumstances beyond your control, to adjust your approach when situations change, and to embrace new realities without being overwhelmed or paralyzed by uncertainty. Adaptability begins with mindset, the recognition that change is a natural and unavoidable part of life, and that the capacity to adjust and respond effectively is what differentiates those who thrive from those who struggle when faced with unpredictability. This chapter emphasizes that developing adaptability requires flexibility, open-mindedness, and a willingness to let go of rigid expectations, preconceived notions, or attachment to specific outcomes, while simultaneously maintaining clarity about your core values, goals, and priorities. Being adaptable does not mean compromising your principles or losing sight of your long-term objectives. Rather, it involves finding creative solutions, embracing alternative strategies, and remaining proactive in the face of evolving circumstances. Adaptability enhances problem-solving by encouraging innovative thinking, exploration of multiple perspectives, and the ability to identify opportunities where others see obstacles, thereby strengthening your capacity to depend on yourself and respond independently to challenges. This skill also fosters resilience, as those who are adaptable are better equipped to recover from setbacks, navigate disruptions, and maintain progress toward their goals even when unexpected events occur. The practice of adaptability involves self-awareness, allowing you to recognize when a change is necessary, to evaluate your options thoughtfully, and to implement adjustments confidently without succumbing to fear or indecision. It also requires emotional regulation, as flexibility in thought and action often intersects with uncertainty, stress, or discomfort, and the ability to remain composed under pressure ensures that your responses are deliberate, effective, and aligned with your overarching objectives. Adaptable individuals cultivate a growth mindset, understanding that challenges and change are opportunities to learn, expand their skills, and improve their strategies rather than threats to stability or competence. By embracing adaptability, you strengthen your self-trust because you learn to rely on your ability to navigate uncertainty, make informed decisions under evolving conditions, and take effective action without depending excessively on others for guidance, validation, or solutions. Furthermore, adaptability enables proactive engagement with life rather than passive reaction, fostering the ability to anticipate change, prepare for potential scenarios, and respond strategically to shifting circumstances, thereby reinforcing independence and autonomy. This chapter underscores the importance of integrating adaptability into your daily life through practices such as reflective problem solving, continuous learning, exploring new experiences, and being willing to step outside comfort zones, all of which expand your capacity to respond effectively and confidently to unforeseen events. Adaptability also enhances interpersonal relationships and professional growth, as it allows you to adjust communication, collaboration, and leadership styles to suit diverse situations, challenges, and individuals, creating an environment in which your independence and self-reliance are complemented by the ability to navigate complex social dynamics effectively. Moreover, it strengthens decision-making under uncertainty because adaptable individuals are able to weigh changing information, assess multiple outcomes, and pivot when necessary without being paralyzed by fear, overthinking, or attachment to a single plan. This chapter highlights that adaptability is both a skill and a mindset, a dynamic practice that requires conscious effort, reflection, and a commitment to continuous improvement, and it is a defining characteristic of those who are truly self-reliant. By cultivating adaptability, you ensure that you are equipped to thrive in a world characterized by unpredictability, rapid change, and evolving challenges, reinforcing your capacity to rely on yourself and maintain progress toward your goals regardless of external circumstances. In essence, depending on yourself requires the ability to embrace change, pivot strategically, and respond with creativity, resilience, and clarity, transforming potential obstacles into opportunities for growth, learning, and achievement. By integrating adaptability into your life, you create a foundation of flexibility, resourcefulness, and confidence, ensuring that your independence, self-trust, and empowerment remain strong even in the face of uncertainty, enabling you to navigate life on your own terms while continuously evolving, improving, and thriving in alignment with your goals, values, and vision for the future. See Chapter 11. Self-discipline is an indispensable component of self-reliance, a foundational quality that empowers you to control your actions, maintain focus on your goals, and act consistently in alignment with your values, ultimately allowing you to depend on yourself with confidence and integrity. Learning to rely on yourself is not solely about having knowledge, skills, resilience, or adaptability. It is equally about cultivating the ability to regulate your behavior, resist impulses, and commit to the long-term pursuit of your objectives, even when faced with distractions, temptations, or challenges that could easily derail your progress. Self-discipline begins with awareness and intention, the recognition that your daily choices and habits and routines collectively shape the trajectory of your life, and that by taking responsibility for your actions, you gain the power to direct your own path rather than being swayed by circumstance, emotion, or the influence of others. This chapter emphasizes that self-discipline is not an exercise in rigidity or deprivation, but a conscious practice of aligning your actions with your priorities and goals, consistently making decisions that reinforce your independence, competence, and long-term success. Developing self-discipline requires the cultivation of mental strength, the ability to delay gratification, and the persistence to follow through on commitments, even when motivation wanes or challenges arise. It involves creating systems, structures, and routines that support productive behavior and reduce reliance on willpower alone, allowing you to act effectively and consistently toward your objectives. Self-discipline also strengthens accountability, as it reinforces your capacity to honor promises to yourself, maintain personal standards, and take responsibility for both successes and setbacks without blaming external circumstances or waiting for others to enforce consequences. By practicing self-discipline, you cultivate focus, enabling you to concentrate your energy on tasks that matter most, avoid distractions, and make steady progress toward your goals with intention and purpose. It also enhances resilience, because disciplined individuals are better equipped to endure difficulties, manage setbacks, and maintain momentum even when circumstances are challenging or unpredictable. Self-discipline fosters self-trust, as repeated demonstration of controlled, intentional action reinforces the belief that you are capable of guiding your own life, making sound decisions, and achieving meaningful outcomes through your own effort and perseverance. Moreover, it promotes time management and efficiency, ensuring that your hours are spent productively, that priorities are attended to consistently, and that opportunities for growth, development, and achievement are maximized. The practice of self-discipline extends to emotional regulation, helping you respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, resist negative habits or destructive patterns, and maintain composure under pressure, all of which strengthen your ability to rely on yourself in both ordinary and challenging circumstances. This chapter highlights that self-discipline is not a static trait but a skill and mindset that develops through consistent practice, reflection, and intentional effort, allowing you to cultivate habits that support independence, empowerment, and long-term success. By integrating self-discipline into every aspect of life, career, personal development, relationships, finances, and health, you reinforce the foundation of self-reliance, ensuring that your actions consistently reflect your values, priorities, and long-term objectives. Furthermore, self-discipline allows you to navigate temptation, uncertainty, and external pressures with clarity and purpose, reinforcing your autonomy and the capacity to make independent choices that align with your vision and goals. It transforms intention into action, potential into achievement, and effort into measurable results, strengthening the inner resources necessary to depend on yourself fully and effectively. By cultivating self-discipline, you create a framework for consistent growth, achievement, and personal mastery, empowering you to pursue challenges, opportunities, and aspirations with determination and confidence without relying on others to direct, motivate, or validate your actions. In essence, self-discipline is the backbone of self-reliance, the structure that supports every other quality: resilience, decision-making, adaptability, emotional intelligence, financial independence, and time management. By ensuring that you act intentionally, persist through challenges, and consistently align your behavior with your values and goals. Through the deliberate practice of self-discipline, you strengthen your autonomy, cultivate self-trust, and develop the competence and confidence to navigate life independently, creating a life defined by purposeful action, consistent achievement, and the unwavering ability to rely on yourself in all circumstances, ultimately transforming self-reliance from a concept into a lived reality of empowerment, freedom, and personal mastery. Tier 12 mindset is the invisible architecture that shapes your life, and developing a growth-oriented, self-reliant mindset is the most crucial steps in learning to depend on yourself, because it determines how you perceive challenges, respond to setbacks, and approach opportunities for growth and success. Self-reliance is not merely about external skills, discipline, or knowledge. It is fundamentally rooted in the way you think, the beliefs you hold about yourself, and the internal narratives that guide your actions and decisions. A self-reliant mindset begins with the recognition that your thoughts and attitudes have immense power over your behavior, your confidence, and ultimately your outcomes. This chapter emphasizes that cultivating a growth-oriented mindset requires a conscious effort to shift from self-limiting beliefs, negative self-talk, and dependency oriented thinking toward perspectives that empower you to take ownership of your life, embrace challenges, and recognize your capacity for learning, adaptation, and achievement. Those who rely on themselves understand that failure is not a reflection of inherent inadequacy, but an opportunity to learn, refine skills, and develop resilience, and they approach setbacks as temporary, solvable, and informative rather than as reasons to give up or seek external rescue. Developing a self-reliant mindset also involves cultivating optimism tempered by realism, the ability to see possibilities and potential solutions without ignoring obstacles or challenges, and the capacity to maintain focus on long-term goals even when immediate circumstances are discouraging or difficult. It requires self-awareness, the ability to identify internal thought patterns, understand how these patterns influence behavior, and actively replace unhelpful mental habits with constructive, empowering ones that reinforce independence and personal agency. This chapter highlights that mindset is directly linked to confidence, because believing in your capacity to solve problems, make decisions, and navigate uncertainty strengthens your willingness to act independently, trust your judgment, and take initiative without excessive reliance on others for guidance, validation, or support. A self-reliant mindset is also anchored in responsibility, the understanding that your life is largely shaped by your choices, actions, and decisions, and that waiting for external circumstances, luck, or other people to create opportunity or success undermines both growth and autonomy. By internalizing this responsibility, you cultivate agency, the conviction that you have the power to influence outcomes, create opportunities, and steer your life in alignment with your values and aspirations. Furthermore, a self-reliant mindset encourages adaptability and problem-solving because it frames challenges as situations that can be addressed, learned from, and overcome rather than as insurmountable obstacles or reasons for dependency. It enhances resilience by fostering the belief that difficulties are temporary, solvable, and part of the journey toward mastery, growth, and fulfillment. Mindset also affects emotional intelligence, as the way you think about challenges, setbacks, and interactions influences your emotional responses, your ability to regulate reactions, and your capacity to engage with situations constructively rather than reactively. By developing a growth-oriented and self-reliant mindset, you integrate optimism, strategic thinking, accountability, and resilience into your daily approach to life, allowing you to act decisively, persist through adversity, and create opportunities for success without waiting for external validation or support. This mindset reinforces self-discipline, as the belief in your own agency and capability strengthens your ability to act consistently, delay gratification, and maintain focus on your long-term goals. It also enhances decision-making, because when your internal narrative is rooted in confidence, responsibility, and optimism, you are better equipped to assess situations, weigh options, and act decisively without hesitation or dependency on others. A self-reliant mindset fosters autonomy by ensuring that your actions are guided by internal principles, understanding, and strategic thinking rather than external pressures, opinions, or expectations, creating a foundation of independence that permeates every area of life. This chapter underscores that mindset is not static. It is cultivated through reflection, deliberate practice, learning, and the conscious restructuring of thought patterns, allowing you to continuously refine your beliefs, attitudes, and approaches to challenges. By committing to developing a self-reliant mindset, you strengthen the internal framework that supports all other aspects of independence, including resilience, discipline, decision-making, adaptability, financial management, and emotional intelligence, creating a cohesive and empowered foundation for personal growth and success. In essence, depending on yourself begins with mastering your mindset, because the way you think directly shapes your actions, your confidence, and your ability to navigate life independently. And by cultivating a growth-oriented, accountable, and self-empowering mindset, You establish the mental and emotional conditions necessary to act with clarity, courage, and unwavering self-trust, ultimately transforming self-reliance from a principle into a lived reality that permeates every decision, action, and outcome in your life. Chapter 13. Goal setting is a critical practice for self-reliance, a deliberate process that allows you to define your vision, establish direction, and take consistent, purposeful action toward achieving your objectives. And it forms a cornerstone of learning to depend on yourself because it transforms intention into measurable results and provides a roadmap for personal growth and success. Depending on yourself requires more than knowledge, skills, discipline, and resilience. It requires clarity about what you want to achieve and the ability to prioritize and the commitment to pursue those goals independently without being swayed by the opinions, expectations, or interference of others. Effective goal setting begins with self-reflection and self-awareness, understanding your values, strengths, passions, and long-term aspirations, and using this insight to establish objectives that are meaningful, motivating, and aligned with your authentic self. This chapter emphasizes that goals should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, criteria that provide structure, clarity, and accountability, ensuring that your efforts are focused and purposeful rather than scattered or reactive. By clearly defining what you want to accomplish, you create a sense of direction and purpose that empowers you to take initiative, make informed decisions, and act consistently toward outcomes that reflect your priorities rather than being influenced by external pressures, distractions, or societal expectations. Goal setting also reinforces discipline, as the act of planning, tracking progress, and adjusting strategies requires consistent effort, delayed gratification, and the ability to stay committed even when obstacles or setbacks arise. This process strengthens resilience because it encourages you to view challenges as temporary and solvable, to learn from mistakes, and to adapt strategies in pursuit of your objectives, reinforcing your capacity to navigate life independently and effectively. Self-reliant goal setting involves accountability, the willingness to take responsibility for both successes and failures, and the understanding that your outcomes are largely determined by your choices, actions, and persistence rather than luck, external assistance, or the approval of others. It also nurtures motivation, as clearly defined goals create focus, energize action, and provide tangible markers of progress that reinforce confidence and self-trust, encouraging you to continue moving forward even in the face of difficulty or uncertainty. This chapter highlights the importance of breaking larger goals into smaller, actionable steps, creating a roadmap that allows for measurable progress, manageable tasks, and the ability to celebrate achievements along the way, all of which build momentum, reinforce self-efficacy, and sustain motivation over time. Goal setting also involves self-reliance, such as time management, decision-making, adaptability, and financial planning, because pursuing meaningful objectives requires efficient allocation of resources, strategic thinking, and the flexibility to adjust plans while maintaining focus on long-term outcomes. By integrating goal setting into daily practices, you cultivate a habit of proactive action, deliberate planning, and consistent self-assessment, ensuring that your independence is supported by a structured approach to achievement rather than left to chance or external guidance. Furthermore, goal setting encourages reflection and evaluation, enabling you to assess progress, learn from experience, and refine strategies, which strengthens self-awareness, critical thinking, and the ability to respond effectively to challenges, all of which are essential components of self-reliance. It also enhances confidence, as the consistent accomplishment of objectives, no matter how small, reinforces the belief in your ability to set priorities, make decisions, and achieve results through your own effort and initiative. In essence, goal setting transforms abstract aspirations into tangible outcomes, guiding your actions with purpose, clarity, and intention, and it ensures that your self-reliance is not theoretical but operationalized through consistent, measurable progress toward meaningful achievements. By cultivating the skill of goal setting, you strengthen your capacity to depend on yourself, make deliberate choices, act with focus and determination, and navigate life with a sense of purpose and direction that is uniquely your own. This chapter reinforces that self-reliance is an active process, one that requires continuous planning, action, evaluation, and adjustment. And by mastering goal setting, you establish a framework for personal empowerment, growth, and achievement that allows you to live independently, make informed decisions, and consistently move toward the life you envision, fully confident in your ability to create success through your own effort, foresight, and unwavering commitment to your objectives. HDR 14 Persistence is a lifeblood of self-reliance, the unwavering commitment to continue moving forward, striving toward your goals, and maintaining action even in the face of obstacles, setbacks, and adversity. And it is a defining trait of those who truly depend on themselves, because it transforms effort into achievement and challenges into opportunities for growth. Learning to rely on yourself requires more than skills, knowledge, discipline, and planning. It demands the tenacity to persevere when progress is slow, when circumstances are unfavorable, or when doubt and discouragement threaten to derail your momentum. Persistence begins with mindset, the firm belief that your efforts, decisions, and resilience can shape outcomes, and the understanding that temporary setbacks are not permanent failures, but stepping stones toward mastery, improvement, and success. This chapter emphasizes that persistence is closely tied to clarity of purpose. When you are deeply connected to your goals, values, and vision for the future, you are better equipped to maintain focus, act decisively, and resist the temptation to abandon your path when challenges arise. Developing persistence involves cultivating patience, the capacity to endure delays, difficulties, or slow progress without losing motivation or determination, and the ability to sustain effort over time while continuously adjusting strategies, learning from mistakes, and refining approaches to achieve desired outcomes. It also requires resilience, the inner strength to bounce back from setbacks, recover from failure, and maintain confidence in your abilities, reinforcing the connection between self-reliance and the ability to persist independently of external validation or assistance. Persistence strengthens self-trust because each act of continued effort, no matter how small, reinforces the belief that you are capable of overcoming obstacles, achieving your goals, and navigating life effectively through your own initiative and determination. This chapter highlights the importance of consistency, demonstrating that sustained action over time is more powerful than intermittent bursts of effort, as it compounds progress, builds momentum, and gradually transforms challenges into accomplishments. Persistence also nurtures problem-solving skills, as ongoing engagement with difficulties encourages reflection, analysis, and adaptation, allowing you to identify new strategies, innovate solutions, and approach obstacles with resourcefulness rather than frustration or resignation. Moreover, it reinforces discipline because maintaining effort despite fatigue, distractions, or setbacks requires controlled focus, prioritization, and a commitment to act in alignment with long-term objectives rather than immediate comfort or convenience. Developing persistence enhances resilience further, as repeated experiences of overcoming obstacles, navigating challenges, and learning from failure build confidence, adaptability, and emotional strength, ensuring that you are equipped to handle future difficulties with composure, clarity, and determination. Persistence also intersects with goal setting, time management, and decision-making, because maintaining consistent effort toward objectives requires structured planning, prioritization, and the ability to make informed choices about where to focus your energy, how to allocate resources, and when to adjust strategies without losing sight of ultimate outcomes. This chapter underscores that persistence is not merely a matter of stubbornness or blind effort. It is the deliberate, conscious practice of sustaining action with purpose, insight, and adaptability, continually learning, refining, and moving forward despite obstacles or setbacks. By cultivating persistence, you create a feedback loop of action, learning, and improvement, reinforcing your autonomy, competence, and confidence in your ability to rely on yourself to achieve meaningful results. Persistence transforms challenges into opportunities, failures into lessons, and setbacks into stepping stones, ensuring that your self-reliance is active, operational, and capable of producing tangible progress in every aspect of life. It enables you to pursue goals with sustained energy, overcome fear and doubt, and maintain momentum even in circumstances that test your patience, resolve, and commitment, solidifying your ability to navigate life independently and effectively. Ultimately, depending on yourself requires the relentless practice of persistence, because it ensures that you continue striving, learning, and acting toward your objectives, regardless of external conditions, opinions, or obstacles, creating a life defined by determination, achievement, and unwavering self-reliance. Through persistence, you cultivate mastery over your circumstances, confidence in your abilities, and the inner strength necessary to pursue your vision with clarity, purpose, and resilience, establishing a foundation for lasting independence, personal empowerment, and the fulfillment that comes from knowing that you can depend on yourself in every situation and achieve your goals through continuous, committed effort. TR 15 Reflection and continuous learning are the culminating elements of self-reliance, the conscious practice of evaluating your experiences, extracting lessons from successes and failures, and applying that knowledge to continually refine your actions, decisions, and strategies, which ensures that you grow stronger, wiser, and more capable of depending on yourself over time. And it is this ongoing process of introspection and learning that transforms effort into mastery, challenges into wisdom, and experiences into lasting empowerment. Learning to rely on yourself is not solely about taking action, developing skills, or achieving goals. It is also about pausing deliberately to assess your progress, understand the consequences of your decisions, and integrate insights into your future choices, thereby creating a cycle of growth and self-improvement that reinforces independence, competence, and confidence. Reflection begins with honesty and self-awareness, the willingness to examine your behavior, thought patterns, and outcomes without offensiveness, victimization, or blame, and to confront both strengths and areas for improvement with clarity and purpose. This chapter emphasizes that continuous learning is inseparable from self-reliance, because those who depend on themselves recognize that knowledge, insight, and skill are not static but dynamic, evolving through experience, curiosity, and intentional effort to understand and adapt. By reflecting on past experiences, both successes and setbacks, you identify patterns, discern what strategies work best, and gain insight into your decision-making process, emotional responses, and behavioral tendencies, allowing you to make informed adjustments that enhance future outcomes and strengthen your autonomy. Continuous learning also involves seeking out new knowledge, skills, and perspectives proactively, understanding that growth does not come from complacency or passive existence, but from deliberate exploration, experimentation, and the willingness to step beyond comfort zones to acquire competence, wisdom, and resilience. This practice cultivates humility, as it acknowledges that there is always more to learn, and it reinforces accountability because it ensures that you take responsibility for the outcomes of your actions and the development of your capabilities, rather than attributing success or failure solely to luck, circumstance, or the guidance of others. Reflection and continuous learning enhance problem-solving and decision-making by providing a framework for evaluating past approaches, identifying what worked and what didn't, and applying that insight to new challenges with greater effectiveness, creativity, and confidence. They also strengthen emotional intelligence, as understanding your reactions, motivations, and interpersonal dynamics over time allows you to manage emotions, communicate effectively, and navigate relationships with awareness, empathy, and composure, all of which are essential for self-reliance. This chapter underscores that the practice of reflection is most effective when regular and structured, involving activities such as journaling, self-assessment, mentorship, and deliberate analysis of experiences to distill lessons and actionable insights that can be applied to future decisions and behaviors. Continuous learning fosters adaptability, as it equips you with the tools, knowledge, and perspectives necessary to respond effectively to change, uncertainty, and new challenges, ensuring that your independence remains resilient in the face of evolving circumstances. Moreover, reflection reinforces resilience and persistence, because understanding your past responses to adversity provides the wisdom to endure, recover, and continue moving forward with greater skill and insight, turning setbacks into opportunities for growth rather than sources of discouragement or dependency. Self-reliance is magnified when you combine reflection with intentional learning, as this dynamic duo empowers you to act with foresight, make informed choices, and approach life with a mindset of continuous improvement, ensuring that every experience contributes to your competence, autonomy, and confidence. By integrating reflection and learning into your daily life, you create a feedback loop that strengthens self-trust, reinforces decision-making capabilities, and enhances problem-solving skills, all of which are fundamental to depending on yourself consistently and effectively. This chapter also highlights the importance of curiosity, openness, and a willingness to embrace new ideas, perspectives, and knowledge as catalysts for growth, understanding that self-reliance is not the avoidance of external input, but the discerning integration of insights that enhance your own judgment and abilities. Reflection and continuous learning ensure that your independence is sustainable, adaptive, and evolving, providing a foundation for long-term success, fulfillment, and empowerment. Ultimately, depending on yourself requires the ongoing practice of examining your experiences, drawing lessons, and applying newfound wisdom to every facet of life, reinforcing your ability to act decisively, persist through challenges, and make informed, confident, and intentional choices. By cultivating the habits of reflection and continuous learning, you create a life of self-directed growth, mastery, and empowerment, where each experience serves as a building block for greater competence, resilience, and autonomy, ensuring that your self-reliance is not only achieved but continuously strengthened, allowing you to live life with clarity, confidence, and the unwavering knowledge that you can depend on yourself in all circumstances, fully capable of shaping your destiny through insight, action, and enduring personal growth.